Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dev Diary. So today I had other plans, but then I discovered a new game type that I just had to try recreating for myself. So before we get started, remember to leave a like if you enjoy the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And also remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Now, I've only just recently started checking out more mobile games, and in those ventures I discovered a new game type, well, to me at least, called merge games. And apparently they're pretty popular. And as far as I can tell, they work like this. Player spawns units into a grid, players then match units of same type and level to quote-unquote merge them into a higher level version of that unit. This unit then provides some type of aid to the player's progression. Usually the spawners can also level up, increasing the variety of things that can spawn, and things go from there. Now there seems to be more to it than that, but that's just the gist of what I wanted to recreate here today. So here we've got a very similar setup. The board size is customizable based on variables and is a simple 2D array acting as our grid. Now the play area is much larger, but to focus on just the play area, a tile map and sprite overlay help confine the focus to the board itself. And from what I've experienced, no other objects should be necessary other than some type of controller. So our mouse is a simple struct with some variables to keep track of the data needed to control the board. I've done my best to emulate the controls of the games I've played, so when the player left clicks, this checks if the cursor has been activated. It then sets the cursor to active if necessary, the mouse's position is then recorded, and finally it moves on to the hold check. When the player is holding down the left click, if the mouse's position changes from the coordinates we recorded, then we enter the drag state so that the player can move the target unit around the board. This records the unit's type and level to a variable, then resets the grid cell, effectively quote-unquote grabbing the unit. But if the mouse's position remains in place, it will instead begin a counter to initiate an action. When this counter reaches a certain limit, it executes the action function. And for now, we've only got a spawner action. So using another function, the spawner will create a unit in a random empty space on the board. We've also got a nice nifty little board check function that determines if spaces are available, which will save us from accidentally spawning too many units and thus crashing the game. Finally, we have the event when the players release the left click. First, if we're already holding a unit and the target space is empty, we record the unit's data to that space, effectively quote-unquote placing it back on the board. However, if the target space has a unit already on it, we do a type and level check. If both match the unit we're holding, we quote-unquote merge the two by deleting our held unit and adding a level to the unit already on the board. However, if they don't match, we do a quick swap of data, grabbing the placed unit and placing the original held unit. And finally, if the player releases left click while not moving the cursor, it'll count as a full click, triggering the action function if necessary. Essentially, that just means that the player can click the spawner to immediately spawn a unit, or hold it and a new unit will spawn every 30 frames. Now, this was as far as I was able to get, not due to time, but because it's as far as I got in the games I played. I'm aware that the mechanics get a lot more complicated, but I literally got time gated around the same place in each experience. I also got time gated once mid-tutorial, which honestly isn't surprising because these are mobile games. Still, I take it as a sign that not only does this give us time to build a foundation, but now we can make our own version that doesn't require spending a bunch of money to avoid annoying mobile game shenanigans. So yeah, I think it should be pretty obvious that not only do I dig the simple yet intriguing concept, but the fact that we could definitely find an alternative, more fun way to deal with the time gating nonsense. Well, that seems like a good enough reason to keep working on this one. So expect to see this concept continue in some form in the future. But in the meantime, I'd love to know what you think of merge games, or whether you knew they existed before today or not. And if you are a regular player of these merge games, am I on the right track? How complicated does the game actually get? And mathematically, it seems like a nightmare, so I'd love to get more insight, especially if things get better later on. So please leave any and all thoughts in the comments. Also, just as a reminder, if you would like to play some games that have been featured on the channel previously, or enjoy the weekly videos and would like early access, subscribe to my Patreon. With that said, brings us to the end of today's Dev Diary, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.